My name's Lachlan and I work as a research scientist at the Florey Institute for Neuroscience and Mental Health. So our area is neural transplantation. So that means, can you grow cells in the laboratory and then actually introduce them into the brain, have them survive, have them make the right connections, be functional? I guess I was always interested in the brain when I went through my undergraduate studies. So I did basic science, and then as you know, as you go through university, you specialise more and more. And I always liked biology, and I was always fascinated in how the brain worked. The human body is amazing at repairing itself, right? Like the liver, for example, incredible regenerative capacity. Skin, as we all know, you repair yourself when you cut yourself. The brain, not so much, okay? So it's incredibly poor at repairing itself. An amazing organ, but that's not one of the things it's good at. So, that's why we think about treatments for brain injuries in terms of regeneration and replacement. And it was really a group of scientists in Sweden in the 1970s that came up with this idea for dopamine depletion, which happens in Parkinson's disease, that maybe we can replace the cells. Maybe that's a therapy. And they came up with a proof of principle study to show that if you have an animal model of Parkinson's disease, so it was a rat model, so you're missing your dopamine neurons, they showed that if you take fetal tissue, so rat fetal tissue, at around the time that those cells develop, put it in the animal with the missing dopamine neurons, that they survive and they grow and they replace those dopamine neurons. And it has a functional impact on that animal. And they were so successful that they went to clinical trials. Right? So human fetal tissue from elective abortion, dissect out the piece that is going to become the dopamine neurons, and then transplant into patients. Now for some patients that worked exceptionally well. So they did much better than the best results with the available drug therapies at the time. So how can we improve this highly experimental concept that we know works but not all the time, and that's where stem cells come in. So it will potentially solve the problem of ethics, so we're not using fetal tissue. It's potentially more standardisable, and it's potentially an infinite or totally renewable resource as a donor source. So that's really how this concept of stem cell therapy developed. And our laboratory is essentially trying to now push it along and say, how can we achieve the type of outcome that we saw with fetal tissue but with stem cells?